So the next few questions are individual questions. And the first one, Rasoul, people criticize the Green Party for being a single issue party. Is the Green Party a single issue party, in your opinion? Other than the environmental priorities, what other issues motivates you to support the Green Party and, in fact, run for them?
Well, that is a misunderstanding and that it has historic reasons. That's a really good question, and thank you for the question. But when you talk about environment, it's not only the, I don't know, it's not only electric cars. It is the whole structure of the economy. We are proposing to change, to move away from oil-based economy in order to save the planet. We are in a crisis, but then what it means is that, yes, I have to be careful on how to live my life and save the, use less plastic or less gas, but the whole economy has to change. We have to diversify our economy. We have to move towards alternative energies. Look at British Columbia. There is so much potential for solar energy, wind energy, and even for farming. We have lots of potential for farming in British Columbia, but there are so many farmlands that hasn't been used. And one of the key issues that the Green Party is focusing on is sustainable farming, organic sustainable farming. Why should we import our food from Mexico and California, and while we have so many lands and we have such a good weather for farming? So I disagree with the fact with that, but I do understand that this is a misconception. The Green Party started with that movement, but it's more than that. And the main reason is that everything is intertwined. You cannot solve the climate crisis with one issue. It's the economy, it's politics, it's people's lifestyle, and it's our communities. Yes, that's and that's a real good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Rasoul. Any other responses from any other candidates before I ask Bowinn your individualized question? No? Okay. So Bowinn, there are many people, as you know, in the Iranian-Canadian community who worked in the oil and gas industry. NDP opposes the Trans Mountain expansion. What can you say to the Iranian Canadians who are working or worked in this sector, who built their livelihood in this industry? What do you see for them in their transition, possibly beyond fossil fuels?
I think that the way that you phrased the question is absolutely, like, it's very good phrasing for it. A lot of people have built their lives and fed their families and closed their whole households off of a industry that we know we need to transition away from because of climate change, of course. And we need to be able to find ways to actually provide other opportunities for people in different industries. Now, having said that, the industry will continue on for some time. For better or for worse, we will have a fossil fuel industry for some time. The goal that governments should be aiming for is to make sure that we're not further expanding and further increasing our dependence on fossil fuels. It will eventually go the way of the dinosaurs, but in the meantime, we need to be preparing the new generation in new industries. We did oppose the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion project because we did not believe it was the right project for British Columbians, and we thought that the risk was too great. But as many people will know, we fought it and we lost. And the federal government has said that the project will go through. And so that is the current state of that project there for people who are looking to maintain jobs on that project.
Thank you, Bowinn. Does anybody else want to address this issue, Rasoul or Jane?
May I go?
Go ahead.
So this problem, I think, is a solved problem. In Germany, when they were trying to move away industry, they had lots of people working in that industry. They were experts, they were technicians. So what they did, they trained them towards new industries. For example, solar cell. Germany is huge in solar cell now, and those workers, they came from coal industry and oil and gas industry. So I would say what we have here is lots of potential for people to learn new techniques and to open a new life, new window to their family and to themselves and to their country. So I see it is an opportunity, and I don't see it as a problem. But we just need to look at what they did in Germany, and I'm not sure about China, but definitely in Germany they've done that.
I'm so grateful that Rasoul brought that up. Absolutely. Worker training is so important, and it's actually in our platform as well to help focus retraining workers so that we can actually bring them into more sustainable sectors. Thank you, Rasoul. That's so beautiful.
Thank you. Maybe I'll move on to Jane's question. So Jane, on the opioid crisis, could you please clarify your position on solutions to the crisis? Do you support safe supply of drugs as a solution, or do you recommend emphasizing treatment and recovery?
All of the above. I'm a supporter of the 4 pillars, and certainly harm reduction and safe supply and naloxone kits and overdose prevention sites would all come into that category of harm reduction. Obviously, we want to keep people alive, but what we haven't done a very good job of, and by the way, harm reduction and the declaration of the state of emergency, public state of emergency, was declared under our government in 2016. It was Dr. Terry Lake who instigated all those harm reduction measures, which this government is continuing. My issue is that there are 3 other pillars that we're not so good at: treatment, prevention, and enforcement. And we're not doing enough on those 3 pillars. We're not doing enough getting people into treatment, and arguably, we're not getting them into recovery as well, or even those opportunities for recovery. So what we have suggested is that there's immediate things that we can do to assist people. And the first thing that you could do is open up all the empty beds that sit empty in all of these treatment facilities that sit empty because they're not funded. There is no need to drastically increase capital expenditures, just simply open and fund the beds that lie empty today. But more long-term, we need a comprehensive mental health and addiction strategy. We need to ensure that when people want to get off drugs, when they want to go through detox, when they want to get into treatment, that treatment is available right then and right now. And then we have to ensure that treatment is seamless, because right now there's gaps in between different ways of navigating the system. So even if you did get somebody into detox, there is a waiting list to get them into treatment after that, and that's unsafe and also contributes to higher risk of overdoses. So a seamless and constructive and continuous system of care for those suffering from mental health and addictions that truly gets to the root of the addiction, and that could be pain, it could be trauma, it could be mental illness. There are all sorts of reasons why people have addictions, but getting to the root of the addiction is what we have to do. And currently, I don't see that happening right now. And even though we have a government with a separate ministry of mental health and addictions, the number of overdoses is going up, the number of non-fatal overdoses has gone up, and it's just tragic. And we need to put more emphasis and resources into helping people get well.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Does anybody want to jump in on this crisis, the other pandemic that we are facing? No? Okay, so I think that maybe I'll just ask this. Dr. Henry favors decriminalization and safe supply. What are your thoughts, any of you, about that, and what is going to happen if you get into the government regarding decriminalization?
Growing up, this is really hard to share, but I'm going to say it. Growing up, my father became addicted to opium. And for such a long time, it was so hard for me to make peace with it. People, my friend, my classmate, they bullied me because my father was addicted, and it was a crime. So he couldn't even go and seek help for it. And over time, I made peace with the fact that it is not a crime; it is addiction. It's a disability, and I think decriminalization helps those families and those people who are involved in it to seek a better situation. They can open up. So many times the fact that we are sending police to the situation, someone is having some problems, and we should help send someone who is expert in helping those people rather than sending police. And it is a mental health crisis, and definitely I agree with the idea of decriminalization.
Thank you, Rasoul. Anybody else?
Yeah, thank you so much. And Rasoul, thank you so much for sharing that story. It is a story that is far, far too common here in British Columbia, and certainly in communities, even on the North Shore as well. So many lives have been lost. And there isn't one magic bullet either. We've been fighting the overdose crisis on all fronts at once. And that's why our government was the first government in all of Canada to have the first Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions. We've been trying to focus on prevention. We need to support and protect our kids. So we doubled youth treatment beds this year. We also are adding new beds and funding new beds for adults, including new First Nations treatment centers and new regulations to keep people safe. In terms of your specific question about decriminalization, yes, it is in our platform that that a re-elected BC NDP government will fast track a move towards decriminalization in order to allow people to feel safe to come and ask for help. The problem is right now people don't feel safe. One of the problems is that people don't feel safe. There's stigma around the use of drugs, and when they're addicted and have a medical problem, it becomes very difficult for them to ask for help. We want to make sure that people first and foremost can actually ask for help when they need it, because that is the first step to recovery. So we'll work with the police chiefs to push Ottawa to decriminalize it. Criminalization is a federal issue, so that's why we can't say we will do it, because we have to convince the government of Canada to do it.
Thanks, Bowinn. Jane, do you want to add to any of that?
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate that decriminalization is a federal issue, but there are things that we can do here in the province. I've spoken about drug courts before, that people can get diverted out of the justice system into the healthcare system. This is the whole advantage of decriminalization, is that people aren't criminalized for what is a health issue. Addiction is a health issue. So, but the problem is that we need to have the services available for people to go into. And that gets back to my previous point with regards to not having enough treatment facilities, not having a seamless system so that people can be diverted into the healthcare system and followed properly. One of the things that happens, tragic things that happens, is that if people are in a facility and they're very expensive, in this province you have to be either really rich or really poor to get into. You have to be on welfare or very rich to get into a treatment facility. And many times it's the mums and the dads that put second mortgages on their houses to pay for their sons, because it's usually the sons, to get into these facilities. But what we need to do is, as I said before, is ensure that these beds that sit empty because they're not funded are immediately opened and are properly funded. So it's not enough just to so-called go through decriminalization. You need to have the treatment facilities available, and we also need to ensure that people have a pathway to recovery, because recovery is possible. And I've talked to numerous people who have gone through recovery and are still going through recovery, and they're contributing members to society and back with their families, contributing to the economy and with their families, and have a much happier life. So it is possible, and we just have to help people to do so.
Thanks.